A night like no other. Rain lashed against the windshield, thunder roared, lightning split the sky, momentarily illuminating the deserted road ahead. It was the kind of night that made you want to be curled up safe at home. But Amir was far from home. He was lost, alone, and very afraid. He had been driving for hours, trying to make it to his friend's house before the storm hit. But he shouldn't have attempted this shortcut. Now he was regretting it, badly. Stranded and seeking shelter, a loud clunk echoed in the silence between thunderclaps. The engine sputtered and died. Amir groaned. He tried the ignition again and again. Nothing. His car was dead. He looked around. He was in the middle of nowhere, just dense woods on either side of the road, except for one thing. In the distance he saw a faint light. A house? He had no other choice. He had to get help. Amir grabbed his jacket, pulled the collar up against the biting wind, and started walking towards the light. A warm welcome on a cold night. The house was closer than he thought. It was old and dilapidated, but the warm light spilling from one window beckoned him closer. He knocked tentatively. A moment later, the door creaked open. An old woman stood there. Her face was wrinkled, but her eyes were kind. "Oh dear, you're soaked. Come in. You'll catch your death out there." Amir hesitated for a moment. He had a bad feeling about this place, but he was cold, wet, and desperate. He stepped inside. The old woman led him into a cozy living room. A fire crackled merrily in the hearth, casting dancing shadows on the walls. She offered him a warm blanket and a cup of tea. Amir felt himself relax a little. As he sipped his tea, his eyes wandered around the room. His gaze fell on a series of photographs lining the mantelpiece. They were old and faded, but there was something unsettling about the people in the pictures. They all seemed to be staring at him, their eyes filled with a look of pure terror. Amir shivered. He tried to shake off the Later that night, Amir lay in the guest room. He couldn't sleep. The storm raged outside, the wind howled like a banshee, and those photos, he couldn't get them out of his mind. He heard a noise, a soft murmur coming from downstairs. He crept out of bed and peeked over the banister. The old woman was in the living room. She was talking to the photographs, whispering to them. And then he saw it, the impossible. Amir didn't wait to see more. He turned and ran. He had to get out of that house. He fumbled with the lock on the front door. It wouldn't budge. He raced from room to room, his heart pounding in his chest. Every shadow seemed to hold a new terror. He found himself in a small study. A window, his only chance. He threw it open and scrambled out, ignoring the pouring rain and the jagged shards of glass that tore at his clothes. He ran back to his car. To his surprise, it started on the first try. He didn't look back. He just drove, as fast and as far away from that house as he could. Amir never went back. He never spoke about that night, but sometimes in his nightmares, he could still see those eyes, those terrified, accusing eyes, and he could hear the whispers that followed him wherever he went.